Hi, my name is Keenan Hardert. I'm a professor at Minnesota State University, and in this video, I'm going to show you best practices for creating graphs with a focus on bar graphs and heat maps. The reason behind this is that bar graphs are probably the universal method of getting data across, essentially, in most presentations and science practices. And heat maps, on the other hand, offer a big multi-dimensional look at big data that is really hard to get across in almost any other format. So let's go ahead and get started. Using that, I'm going to use some grades that I have from old exams and a Likert scale when I ask my students to rank different things that they like or dislike. So let's start with the exams first. And I do imagine this would be something they would not like, but hey, that wasn't asked on the thing. So we got a great little list here, stacked replicates. Let's go over here to new graph. It's going to ask us specific ideas of what we want to use this for in the column format. I'm a big person about using individual values. I really like that. Box and violins are great too, box and whiskers, but let's do a bar graph right here. This data is pretty normally distributed, so we can probably do mean with standard deviation. I think that's good. It's going to depend on what you're after in here. If you have non-normal data, sometimes a median with an IQR or a CI is going to be better, but let's go ahead right here. So here's our initial data right here, and this is the default for Prism. Typically, I'm going to try and just minimize as much white space as possible. And most of the time, you're going to have a caption that's going to kind of tell you what the title is. So I usually get rid of that. Down here, it's going to be assessment. Down right here, percent right here. So off to the bat, the grayscale does look really good. That's totally fine. I really encourage that. But if you want to get a little more creative with how you're looking, Prism offers this excellent feature right here to change the color scheme to one of these default color schemes right here. And if you're really fancy, you can eventually define your own color scheme using Prism's palette. I'm not going to be super fancy today, but let's go with Prism Light right there. Or maybe we could go with Prism Floral. I don't mind that. That's really nice. So notice that that is going to handle a lot of the default setups for us. I don't have to point and click and change every color. But the good news is if I do want to make some changes of my own right here, I can still go in and change all data sets and say, hey, I want the border to be a little crisper and smaller. I want the border to still be black. And look at that. It's going to come right through for me. Equally, I'm going to change one other thing on here that some people don't like, but I do. I want the error bars on both sides. Oh, see, I did that for just one bar. You always got to remember, change all data sets. I want that error bar on both sides. Check out after using apply. Looks pretty good. Okay. Next, I do want to check over here on this axis. I typically like to add, I'd say, tick marks at 4. I think that's a good look. I like a line at 70 here because the data I'm using is exams and 70 is a pass, right? I like to see where things are at. I want this to go over the data points. That's kind of just me, but nice, looking good. I could make this maybe in red, but I'm not gonna ruin this color scheme right here with this line. Next cool thing that you can do with bar graphs that kind of take them to that next level that's really neat. You can say on top of the error bar in the bar graph, I want the plotted value. I want the mean, right? And I want that horizontal, so it's going to fit. And notice right there, it didn't give me that one because it kind of cut off. This is too high. I'm going to go ahead and take this over here and just give myself just a bit on there and see if I can. Yep, and then it's going to fit. But it will automatically get my tick marks down here down to 50, which I don't like. I liked them at 20. So let's move them back like that. Really nice. Really good setup, really easy access. And again, like I said, you can use these color schemes in here perfectly. You can change them, move them, and then you can decide what else to change on your own. Biggest other thing that I really like for bar graphs, by the way, and again, everything that we do is for your personal style that Prism offers, but you really want to get away from default settings of spreadsheet graphs, which are going to be those big, kind of those really spread out blue and orange ones in the grid lines. You know what I'm talking about? Best thing you can do here, I really like getting rid of that space between the graphs and see how that really like gets rid of more white space there for me, makes things really clean. Absolutely love it. I'm going to save this for later. I'm going to move on to our next thing. So next, I want to use a heat map in this case because I have a Likert scale set of data from some of my students, and you'll see they're not really my students. You'll notice the theme when I input everybody. So we have some students over here. We have different things that they may like or dislike. And as you can tell, a 1 means you don't really like that thing. Then a 5 means you enjoy that thing. So over here at video games, for example, Misty and Lieutenant Surge and several others don't really care for video games. That's okay. Probably spending more time on better stuff, I suppose. Now, to graph this would be challenging. To put this in a bar graph, let's just go ahead and try that. That's not gonna work, right? There's too many things happening. There's too much variation in those numbers. Not a chance. Change type of graph right here. Individual value is not going to work. But here we go. Prism offers a heat map, and it's going to complete a lot of good stuff for you. Remember that grid right there? I've got 3 dimensions of data going on right now, an X, a Y, and a Z, that middle value right there. Right now, the size is set at to keep each cell as a square. But there's something that you do have to change in the default. See these labels right here, they're going to automatically go as 1s, 2s, and 3s and letters instead of the actual column titles. That's honestly to keep what's happening at the x-axis from happening, which is it doesn't think it has enough space for these. I'm going to say that you have to make space for those. One way you can make space is have a nice angle right there. And as you can tell, we're totally fine now. You can also go as low as 4 on the font, I believe. And you can also make your graph bigger, and that will sort of help spacing issues sometimes. But in terms of other good practices for heat maps, looking at color scheme to begin, this is one of my favorite automatic default color schemes, though, Viridius, or Viridis. I'm not going to try and pronounce it. But you have a lot of other options here. Some of the defaults are excellent. Really like Viridius, though, in terms of the actual big default. We'll move us back up here, sorry. And some other stuff that you can get away with heat maps that I think are great. I really like adding the little cell borders, and again, that's probably just a personal preference. I love how this looks for me. And a lot of the times, what I really like adding is a label, if I can fit it, and if it's a whole number like this Likert scale is, I absolutely love annotating the graphs with the number of their value. Because when I've got readers that are using this, a lot of the time that's the first time seeing a big heat map with color. Having the value there to pinpoint what color is which value doesn't hurt, right? So not too bad at all. If I wanted to change the color itself as well, you can go beyond some of the defaults. Let's say that I wanted to do kind of a purple to a light green right here. I can totally make my own scale right there. And the middle value that you're going to bump using, you can make that middle value and that transition work a little better for you. Notice as well, I don't have truly continuous data here with a Likert scale. I just have 5 categories. If I did have truly continuous data, there would be a nice scale of things. So if I wanted to add that, I could probably get those exam scores back in here, and they would go up and down based on that color really smoothly. And even if I do this, and this is going to get kind of gross right here, but if I do like a 2.4 or something right there, technically that little 2.4, wherever it landed, there it is. See how it's a little darker as a purple? So it'll do great work for you, staying continuous and making sure that you have a good solid amount of data here. So I like using heat maps for 0 and 1s, whether it's like right or wrong on an exam. I like it for categories like this, and absolutely love it when I do my cancer research for mRNA that's going up and down, the classic use of a heat map. But in terms of how to best set up everything, this is definitely like the first set of steps that I always take, and it's really going to allow you some multidimensional data. You don't have to do the numbers in there like I did. That's just kind of me. But thank you for watching.